Okay, so you join us here in Athens for the FIN European Championships. Race number 2, race 1, all concluded with a win for the Olympic champion Giles Scott. A fine return to form. But as you can see, all gearing up. A lot of the boats favouring that Luiden. So we can see the starting committee boat. A lot of the boats stretch their way down towards that pin end of the start line. Just trying to identify exactly where people are tucked up. So one of the Spanish teams near picture here, looking to hover by that committee boat. We saw quite a dominant mid-left side that a lot of the lead boats favoured. The leading boats, the arrowhead of the fleet, came out towards that mid-left side. But again, we didn't see a huge dominance of one side of the racecourse or not. This left side being slightly closer towards the shoreline. And you can see how much that committee boat rocking and rolling now. So there's a lot of movement out on the water. We had initially, when that first race started, about a 10-knot breeze. That breeze eased off certainly during the race, and there wasn't that consistently. But looking at those flags, looking at the detail we've got a nice bit of breeze come back up again. Just trying to get the exact time on where we are at, looking at that flag and how everyone is positioned. We are coming into that final few seconds, all gearing up and starting to squeeze forward. The bulk of the fleet down towards that pin end. So just trying to identify where set people are at the moment. So we believe there's just under 15 seconds to go now. The order sheets go on. They accelerate. Breeze goes forward. Keep an eye on that flag. And when that flag comes down, no, there, bottom left corner is the dreaded red and white striped AP flag. That's just gone up. So that will reset this start. So as the drone just pans around and looks at the shot around us, that start is going to be recalled. Whether that was down to a wind shift, whether it was down to a bulk of boats looking forward on the line. Looking at the position, everyone looked fairly well behaved in that. Certainly looked more the issue of the breeze starting to clock round. Maybe it continued. So as the race officers just define what they want to do, work out where that wind's coming from. Are they happy with the course and expect it to shift back? Will they have to make any course adjustments? That's what we're waiting to hear. So bulk of the sailors all starting to come back down towards the committee boat to ensure they get the right time. Do some line checks. This is the question of, if anything moves, do they need to recalibrate themselves on that line? How many pre-start checks do they need to redo? Or will they settle straight back in? So all the boats now starting to make their way back down. The news only just getting to a few of them, so some have continued to sail just to see how that breeze would settle in, see where they would be. Again, dominant towards that mid left-hand side. So as the boats all pan back, you can see all of them travelling back towards the line, just out of picture. Ed Wright, European champion, who was second the year before as well. So again, a name you cannot take your eyes off. Coach Boats alongside, giving them the feedback. There's Giles Scott, winner of the last race, or the first race today and first race of this European Championship. So we caught up with a lot of sailors and had a little bit of a chat, and you know, many of them being out here for some time training, knowing how prominent an event this was going to be. 4 qualification spaces for Tokyo 2020, plus obviously the European title, plus their final sort of championship before they move out towards Tokyo and get ready for the Olympic test event in August. So for many, this is a real benchmark. See how their training's going, where they're set up, where their weaknesses are. All the names are here. So it gives you a perfect opportunity to really set yourself up. But as you can see from the holding screen there, we are just waiting for live updates and pictures going on. We are hoping to get underway with race number 2 shortly, depending on what that wind shift was to how much the course will need to be altered. So bear with us, and we will bring you live updates very shortly on what's going on out on the water. If you'd like to catch up on some of the highlight clips, or you've just joined in, then you can head over towards the website, which is 2019.fineuropeans.org, and have a look at the website there, which will give you all the information from results to venues to entries to everything, and of course the live coverage, which I'm sure you're tuned in on and why you're picking up on it now. But otherwise, the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just so I'm sure if you've seen some of the superb pictures bouncing around on the website, on Facebook and Instagram, very different story on that practice race. As you'd expect from Athens, glorious sunshine, nice solid 10-12 knots of breeze, and some great racing. Yesterday, very different, completely the other end of the spectrum. The sailors sat on shore, card games were out, storytelling, just catching up, trying to stay cool, relaxed, focused, as the land breeze and sea breeze did battle. But with neither coming out on top, it remained a day of no sailing, long postponements, and obviously frustration for all sailors, but all the organisers as well. But luckily today, they woke to very different conditions. Again, very different from Athens. Plenty of rain, grey, overcast clouds, caused a short delay to race 1 due to just waiting
this week we are expecting a very good weather, sunny, sea breeze, wind, 10, 12 knots, 14 knots.
Hi, Simon. Hi. Sorry, I just muted it and couldn't find where the cursor had just gone. Okay, how are we looking for race 2? Okay. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so for you just joining, or for the ones that are hanging on, waiting for this race number 2, well, let's have the provisional results. Sorry, it's taking a little bit of a delay. There was a bit of a change of course, and just ensuring that we had the correct results. Of course, these are provisional ones till they're all completely cemented offshore. But let's have a look. There we go. Olympic champion Giles Scott came out of the blocks, was rounding second at that first mark, but held on and stretched a little bit of a lead towards the end. He takes the race win. One of the Croatian boats, it's Bugarin, that we saw tucked back, was probably mixed in and around in the top 10 for a while, but a great last downwind leg allowed him to jump up into second. And of course, Alichan Kanar did a superb job over towards the right side of that last upwind leg, which jumped into up into third. So there, for French fans, Fabien Pic was fourth. Then the Kiwi, Andy Maloney. The other Croatian, Josip Orwich, up in sixth. So all waiting, ready for race number 2. So we are hoping we will have a race underway in about sort of 3-4 minutes. So we'll get back out to join the race course very shortly. Of course, it's tricky conditions out there for the race committee organising everything else. About 1 minute to the start of race number 2. You can see that breeze fluttering nicely through those flags on the committee boat. The race officer happy with the setup that is in place there. A real clear spread across that line. A little bit of a line sag in that middle that I always identify once a bigger fleet. But here we go. The flag goes down. They're off. Flag goes up. General recall. There it is. We see that flag go up. So after all of that anticipation of the AP, general recall has gone up. And so they are trying to now get all of the boats back. The ribs all come forward. A few of the boats have heard this. Many won't. The drone's going to disappear back again, straight back to charging dock. And so not waste any battery time, unfortunately. But it will mean we lose that shot of the start. But there we go. We thought we would have gonna get away with race number 2. And again, a little bit of anticlimax as a general recall forced in. So you can see the sailors all just a little bit unnervy. It looked like there was a lot of hangback in that middle section of the line. So the recall must have been pushed from either end of that start line. Back up, the breeze looked good and so on. So it just looked like a little bit of misbehavior from the sailors, just eager to get away. So they will be coming back to that line, and I'm sure we'll be underway again with another start. But again, it is that patient waiting time until that start time is guaranteed. So if you're just tuning in now for race number 2, you'll see the image of the trackers, all 84 boats returning back to that start line. We had a general recall. The first start tried to get underway and was a postponement due to changing the wind direction and just getting a few things sorted. Then a second attempt, everyone very eager to get underway, and that has been a general recall. So you are with us here at the Finn European Championships. We are eagerly trying to get race number 2 underway. A nice breeze out in tricky conditions out in Athens. But we will shortly be back down into countdown, ready to go again. Still here. Line, that's where a lot of the dominant side of that race course was. A lot of the boats all bundling down towards that end. Apologies for what you're seeing now. We're starting to identify and say the boats all starting to line back up again. This is going to be the restart of race number 2. So you can see 84 world-class Finn sailors taking to the start line. Again, very evenly spread across this course. Neither side really became dominant on the last race in race number 1. So again, with such consistency towards that middle section of the race course, a lot of people happy to position themselves across all width of the start line at the moment. So getting very tight and packed up towards this end. So I'd assume we're in the final few seconds of this. We've got the Greek home favourite. Attack is right here by the pin end boat. Trying to squeeze in right alongside him. The Rio medalist, Jonathan Laubert. He's also previous European champion in 2017. Their position, they're creeping forward though. Here goes the accelerator. Now you watch the speed come on. Anders Pedersen's there as well. Looked quite early up towards the end of that line. Late acceleration from Laubert there. France 112 just going out of shot. Mitakis 77. There we're starting to zoom in on Anders Pedersen, the Norwegian, just above the Jan Posma. Not a great start from him. Quite deep. Got a couple of the Spanish boats up above him. But there you go. This is your home favourite. This is the support. Okay, we've got lots of Greek sailors out on the water. 5 all contending for this spot. But it's all about this person here. This is the one they're resting their hopes on. Getting their country qualified for the 2020 Olympic Games. He was 5th at the World Cup Series in here. Had a shocker in the World Championships last year in Aarhus. That would have been an area who would have liked to have been a much higher, and if not contending for those qualification spaces. But it wasn't to be. 11th in Rio. And so would love to go to Tokyo and improve on that. Petr-Jan Posma right here in shot. Again, a formidable force. Just missing out on a medal in London 2012. Rio, not as good, down into 10th. But still 2 Olympics under his belt. But the battle between himself And so a lot of the leading boats all favouring that mid to port left side. So again, we see Anders Pettersson there. The Swede coming into shot there. Jonas Pettersson, one of two Swedish boats. Max Salminen is one of the formidable forces that everyone's keeping an eye on as well. He was world champion in 2017, second in Aarhus. So again, a superb sailor. Has already confirmed their place for Tokyo 2020. So it is all about getting the best possible result here at this European Championships. We can see the breeze coming up, slightly darker patches. You can see how lumpy and disturbed that sea is. So the sailors working well through it. Easy to put the bow down and just hit a wave, stuff it through, slow that boat. And so speed is going to be king here. Settling in. But we stick with the Frenchman, Jonathan Laubert. Bronze medal in 2012. Again, like a few other people, that Jan Postma, for example, where they struggled a little bit when they got to Rio and it all sort of didn't go as planned. He ended up a little bit further back than he had ever wanted, back in 14th, but then returned to the world circuits in Aarhus, second at that World Championship. He was second in 2015 and 2017. So we can see a lot of those lead boats now just coming into shot on that right-hand side. That is your lead boat. Again, Facundo Alizar in that midsection, along as one of the Dutch sailors, Nicholas Heine. You can see Giles Scott is tucked in there as well. If I can make out if it's clear. Looks like Tom Ramshaw from Canada is as well. So a lot of boats all coming in from that. Anders Pedersen, he's tucked in as well. Also have Caleb Payne. So your leading boats and filled with name all tucked in just on this little bundle towards the right of the screen, as we can see here. A few more crossing lanes where you can see these boats towards that left-hand side have taken that hitch straight out from that start, tacked up onto port tack, and then just gone for a long port. These boats here in this midsection been trying to work their way through a little bit easier than that. But all to play for in this early stages. And again, with the pressure of a general recall just as previously happened, everyone a bit more nervous. Some will have pushed the line hard, some will have just held back. But Jonathan Laubert, we saw come out of that pin end right at the far end. He's tucked over towards that pin end. The bulk of the names and people that you keep see in the mid-section of that fleet, all just bouncing aside that central line. We saw for those home fans with Mitakis out towards that left-hand side with Laubert, but he's coming back across into that midsection of the fleet. So, just trying to identify exactly where all the other key boats are, you can see them spread evenly across this course. The two New Zealanders giving each other a little bit more space this time. Andy Maloney out on that right-hand side. He is the New Zealand boat. We see centre of screen, NZL 61. His fellow countryman, Josh Jr., is on the opposite side of the racecourse near Lobert. So there's space between them. But many boats hugging that centre line, just trying to keep a little bit of clear air. Andy Maloney, probably one of the furthest boats out towards that right, alongside Alejandro Muscat. Alejandro Muscat had a superb battle with Jorg Zarif, at the Hempel World Cup Series in Geneva. It all came down to that medal race, and it was just battle after battle, penalty given, then catch up, penalty given. And so it shows how tight the racing is. But it was Jorg Zarif who took the title and leapfrogged the Spanish man into that top spot. So, very different conditions that you'll see when we join, and excuse a few of the technical issues, some of that coming down due to the weather and plenty of rain around and static within the rain and the clouds. So quite thundery in and around Athens at the moment, but a nice breeze out on the water. We're going to stick with a tracker just for the meantime. It makes it a little bit easier to identify where people are at. So we've got in the centre of the screen, NZL 61, that is Andy Maloney. GBR 41 towards top of the screen, that is Giles Scott, your Olympic champion. Japan already qualified due to being the host nation. One of their sailors there, Yukiki Ishu. Ishirai is coming across left of picture as well. So very spread out. When we look back at those trails on the boats, you can have them slightly longer on the tracker, and you can identify how spread out and how many movements these boats are doing, all hugging that centre line, trying to minimise the amount of manoeuvres. Again, something we look at in sailing. Okay, crudely, if we were to try and break down a sailing race, we're trying to break it down into sort of a few components. Three of those components could be than anybody else, and that might be the chance to do that. But there we see Andy Maloney, centre of screen, looking in a strong position. Just looks bow forward of anybody else. Just having a look down through those other names that who were up in that last race. Caleb Payne, he's back up in and around. Giles Scott is. Alejandro Muscat, he's starting to appear. Nicholas Heiner, Max Kolhoff. So lots of names all starting to creep back up through. Again, that's what it's about. It's about, of course, everyone loves to win a race. It would be really nice. But it's about that consistency. It's about pulling it all together and holding a series of races across a whole week, challenging different conditions, and being able to pull it all together and capitalise on that. And that's where the consistency all comes down to it. And so far, at the moment, it was a win for Giles Scott in that first race, but he is still there as well. But it looks like a great first beat from Andy Maloney at the moment. Looks like he's got some real wheels over anybody else. Just bow forward, a bit of breathing space to leeward so he can drop that bow, but he's got nice height, even compared to the Ukrainian just above him. Just trying to identify who That's really starting to push higher now. We've got that drone shot of where these boats are approaching in at this upper mark. This is their first upwind leg. Most of this first upwind legs are taking up to sort of 17 minutes or so for that first boat, 17, 18 minutes for the first boat to arrive. We're in at around 12 minutes after that start, so still got a good few minutes of hard work to pull it through. Just once that camera stabilizes, we can identify this boat just taking another tack. Just couldn't pick up on their country flag at that point to who that was. Can see just off their hip though, that consistency and bulk of the fleet all tacking around that midsection. So everyone now, the bulk all approaching in on the port tack. One boat still quite happily on starboard, looking very comfortable, is Andy Maloney. Just trying to find out exactly where in shot he is. So just identifying this is the Hungarian here, Domonkos Nemeth. He is tucked in just up towards this right side of the course. So he is just to the right of the bulk of the group. So to give you a bit of an idea where Andy Maloney is, he had already gone behind when we joined that shot and has just taken tack up right in front of Anders Pedersen and the reigning world champion. So there's Andy Maloney, top of screen, NZL 61. Then we can see Tom Ramshaw just down below him. Nicholas Heiner's there. Giles Scott is there. They're all tucked up. We can see Caleb Payne coming in on that right-hand side. USA 6. So just going behind the German Simon Gorgels. Boats all set up nicely, but look at these lead boats coming in from mid to left side of this course. Hopefully we can join a drone shot up towards that we would mark and can really see how these boats all pan out. But again, consistency as we talked about. Well, Giles Scott's there alongside it's like a fellow teammate. Got GBR 71, just trying to identify exactly who it is, whether it's Henry Weatherall. Here's the drone shot. So who are we zoomed in on? Still the Hungarian Methes. Yeah, Hungarian 80. So this is over towards the right side, still out of shot. Alongside him, Alichan Kainar, Alejandro Muscat, they're all tucked in. But the lead boats are charging in from the other side of the racecourse. Ed Wright also high up on that port ley line. So it's going to be a bit of a risk for him trying to find that clear lane in, not break any rules. Look at that seaway. You can see the white water come over the bow of these boats now. So the breeze, a comfortable plus 10 knots at the moment. Here we go. Let's just see who we're trying to identify. And just couldn't pick up on that number. Just trying to see who that is. Where it's looks like the Ukrainian, I believe. Just trying to... Hasenko, I believe. I think this is Andriy Hasenko from Ukraine. Cell number 4. Again, still a little way over towards that right side as the boats converge in at the top mark. Andy Maloney has the lead. So as we pan out now, you'll identify Andy Maloney. He's got a nice little comfortable bit of breathing space. He's popped the tack straight in front of Caleb Payne, Bedegs, Penderson, Jan Postma. And so in a good controlling position. So he's got space. Can anyone else reel him in? There he is, just coming into centre of picture now. This is Andy Maloney, Kiwi sailor, 10th at the World Championships in Aarhus, 3rd in the Hempel World. A formidable laser sailor stepping into the in class, bulking out, getting that weight up, part of Emirates Team New Zealand America's Cup winning team. And here he is as he gets around that mark. Look at the lead he's got already. And that has been a superb first upwind leg. That short dog leg to clear him round the spreader mark. And the young Kiwi man is off. Great, great result for him. Now he just needs to be able to make it count. Just trying to pick up who this is coming round. There is the British boat. It looked like 41 is Giles Scott is round. It looked like Henry Weatherall's tucked round behind him. Anders Pedersen is there. The world champ. No, sorry, apologies. As the other Hungarian. Nemeth is around. Tom Ramshaw there from Canada. Struggling just to see that picture with that tracker on at the moment. We'll see if we can just lose that and identify. There are the two Dutch side by side, Jan Postma and Heine together. Caleb Payne a little bit further back. Looked like Matt Kohlhoff, Germany 25. There is Burkes, the reigning world champion, Jörg Zarif around. Very, very close between the Estonian and the German boat there as they came up onto line. Croatian round there. Alican Kena. We'll spit it out in a minute. Look how tight. Big bundle there. There'll probably be a call for some protests to who kept clear then. But you can see how tightly packed this is. What stunning racing. But it shows that if you were tucked back here, France number 17. That's who we were keeping a track on. That's Fabian Pick. He had a good first race, but now tightly back in the pack with them. Look how aggressive that downwind manoeuvres are. Oh, we've got a main down on one of the French boats coming across this spreader left. Whether there's any further problems, we'll try and identify exactly who that is. But what a place to experience that problem. Certainly second race in after all the waiting around yesterday. Looks like that main's gone back up again. So there's clearly been some issue. Whether they've been able to get that sorted. But wow, what a sight. Look at that. 84 world-class Finn sailors jetting off downwind, or maybe not all 84 of them, but look at that for a side as the boats come round. At the top mark, we still see those boats trying to creep round the last sort of handful of boats. Again, strong breeze. We've just seen one of the Greek boats, Tassos, cruising across in front there. One of 5 Greek boats as the camera boats blast downwind a bit to try and keep track of what's going on at the front. But superb racing going on. Andy Maloney just has found the power and accelerator button and has gone. He is just extending his lead out. But he's not going to sit still, not going to rest on his laurels when you've got Facundo Alazar from Argentina breathing down your neck. You've got Giles Scott breathing down your neck at the same time. All of these boats, all just hovering back. Another British boat, so as I thought at that windward mark, Henry Wetherall. He is in second. Trains a lot with Giles Scott and the British squad. Not long stepped into the fin, and again, bit of a disappointment for him as well, knowing, as we see it, the Finn class could be stepping out of the Olympics after doing nearly 60 years of dedication, or longer, sorry. It's a sore point at the moment, and still a very controversial point, all being argued. And I'm sure if you spoke to any of these sailors, they would, of course, fight that battle. As we look at that top picture, New Zealand 61, the gap between them and the Olympic champion, Henry Wetherall, over towards the left-hand side. Anders Pedersen over towards the right. Big downwind, push onto that leeward side, down on the waves. Now a big sheet in. They can be really aggressive, and this is Tom Ramshaw right here, bottom right of picture. Superb conditions here. See those lines you're looking for? Those smooth sections to run through. Put yourself by those bigger sections to be able to drive the boat. But stunning conditions here in Athens. Looking very, very good, but this is where you cannot rest up. Can you just sit back and allow your boat to sail as quick as possible downwind? You've got to drive it. Andy Maloney, after a stunning result in Parma in the Princess Sophia Trophy. The Kiwi pair of Andy Maloney and Josh Junior seemed to settle in really well, winning 6 out of the 12 races between them. So they were a duo that everyone's looking at and potentially will see battling it out for the top spots here. Very different conditions. Everyone was expecting that lighter sort of breeze. Well, it has been light yesterday, a bit more breeze now. It was lighter in that first race, but that certainly shows how adaptable, flexible they are to these conditions. Jibe coming in from Ramshaw there, straight back into the power zone. But as you can see from that drone shot, the boat out in front is the New Zealander, Andy Maloney. Just flying over the top of the Olympic champion, Giles Scott again. Consistency playing into his hands at the moment. A race win, and he's up into second now. But look how physical this boat is. Look how much work and energy and power is going in from Andy Maloney. Not letting up. You can see and identify the two gate marks where he's positioned, just right to centre, coming back up, generating that apparent wind, accelerating across to that next wave. Bow goes down, force the weight onto the feet again to drive it down through that flatter section, back up. Here we go. This side shot will just show exactly that. Really to drive downwind at speed. And no matter who you speak to, Ian Percy, any of the guys that have come through the Finn class, won the most prestigious awards possible in the class, and then have stepped on to 50-foot sort of flying catamarans and within the America's Cup and driving those things, they still say one of the best boats they could ever be in and sailing downwind is a Finn. And you can see exactly why. The energy, the power, the feeling you get. That breeze looks dominant. Likely going to see Andy Maloney go for that gate mark furthest away from us or closest to him. So he'll jibe round and then head back out on that side. He has got the breathing space. Question is whether he tucks in, covers Giles Scott as he comes round, but great rounding. In he goes, locked back in. Now the as he works his way upwind. So where is Giles Scott? Just out of picture. There he is, hiding behind that board there. So you can see the distance he's put into it. Other fellow British sailor coming in on the right there is Henry Weatherall, but this is the Olympic champion Giles Scott just nipping past him. Giles Scott jibes. Henry Weatherall tucked in behind. And there, Anders Pedersen coming down. Tom Ramshaw. Olazar tucked in just behind them. So, things right. He led in first race. Got that penalty on that first downwind leg. So, looking to certainly put a few things right and get back up there again. Ramshaw back up into the mix. Olazar, round we go. Now we've got Caleb Payne just over towards the right-hand side. Just on the inside of the Ukrainian here. Jibing round. Husenko goes round. Caleb Payne. Now the Dutchman. You can see Jan Postma back a bit further. So this is where the battle commences. So for those Dutch boats, the battle is firmly on. Kula now round for Poland. Luke Muller round. Then the Frenchman who we had seen off that start. Jonathan Laubert was off that pin end. Jan Postma round. The first of Spanish members, Max Kolhoff, just trying to squeeze inside. Just trying to pick up on the numbers from that Spanish sailor going round. So apologies for not picking up on that. But plenty going on. All favouring that left-hand side. Next boat round. Fellow Canadian sailor spinning the boat through. A host of German sailors closing the gap in. Tightly followed in by Kristanov, who finished well up in that first race. And you can see how the depth of sailors, the depth of experience, knowledge, skills, that one mistake, one let up, and you can easily end back further in the fleet. And that is where all this consistency is going to come down to. Trying to be consistent in a fleet of this level, though, is just brutal. So, fingers crossed you're enjoying the coverage of this Finn European Championships. If you've got any feedback, you would like to leave any comments or notes, we'd love to hear from you. You can obviously get in contact through the class on their Facebook page, the International Finn class. Of course, there'll be various pictures being posted up on Instagram. Soundings, where positionings are, and the Twitter handle is Finn_class. So it'd be nice to know who you're supporting. Who do you feel is going to take the crown? Will it be Ed Wright, current European champion? Can he do it again? Will it be a fellow Britishman? And will it be Giles Scott, Could it be someone totally different? Could it be Lobert going back in again? Front of the boat, we've got eyes on now. This is James Dag from Hong Kong. But Giles Scott saying that due to the fin being removed from Olympic sailing for 2024 in Paris, he's going to focus all his attention back on his and looking to do that with it's as he said, a bittersweet, and it's quite a hard one to digest. You would love to carry it on, love to contend the fin, one class that he speaks very, very highly of, but with it looking like the shutters coming down on it, we shall see. A very passionate, clear message to the sailing world was demonstrated at the opening ceremony, showing how much this class means to people, the history and what's happening. So the jury still truly out, and get a lot of comments from side to side, some very positive about the way the direction of sailing's going, and some a little bit feel like it's being a bit diluted. But that is the joys of any sport. There's going to be change, and there is going to be controversy, and there'll be lots of pluses and there'll be lots of minuses as well. It just depends on which side you sit on the fence. But I'm not here to decide that. I'm here just to see this stunning racing and feed this racing to you. And at the moment, it is the young Kiwi man, Andy Maloney, tracking out, still comfortably in the lead here in race number 2. Giles Scott has just followed him out towards that left-hand side. Anders Pedersen from Norway, Khaled Payne from USA, fellow countryman Luke Muller, and then also Alejandro Muscat from Spain out towards that left-hand side. So Alejandro Muscat just missed out on taking that win in Genoa at the Hempel World Cup Series. So he's looking to get himself qualified because Spain still have not got their place qualified for their country in 2020. That's your spread. There you go. New Zealand one side, New Zealand the other. New Zealand 61 in the top right corner is Andy Maloney. New Zealand 24, Josh Jr. out towards the other side. So Josh Jr. was the one that qualified out of the 2 Kiwi sailors for Rio. Finished up 7th. He was 4th in Aarhus. Finished up 2nd at the World Cup Series final in Marseille in 2018. Again, has been a dominant force as part of the Kiwi team for the America's Cup. So many of these sailors all being heavily involved in other sailing, America's Cup sailing, swan racing, TP52, fast 40s, all sorts of different racing, because some of them, not only from their fitness level, their skills, their knowledge of racing, but are coming from such a tactical class of boat that it is going to be a sought-after people to have involved. And Ineos have jumped on the bandwagon. They've had exactly Giles Scott's competition with Ben Ainslie. Of course, Ben Ainslie, a formidable Finn sailor himself. Giles Scott's training partner, Ben Cornish, who recently retired from the Finn class, who finished up third in the 2017 European Championships. He is part of that team as well. And of course, same with Andy Maloney, Josh Junior for the Kiwi team being heavily involved. So lots of sailors all adding their little bit towards the regatta. So as you see the tracker, left of middle is where most of those boats want to be. A few people spreading out towards that right-hand side. And it's certainly the French feeling like that side is where they want to be. Got Jonathan Laubert making his way out, but French 93 there, Antoine Davinet. Stretching a nice little bit of a lead out from everybody at that space there. Start to see the current world champion, Zomba Berkez, Hungary 40 in the middle of shot, just right of picture as well. Starting to make that little drive through. Giles Scott hard on that left-hand side, along with Andy Maloney. So a bit more separation on this upwind leg. Still a cluster, and I'd easily say about 70% of the fleet heading towards that left-hand side. But certainly some big names tucked over towards that right-hand side. Jonathan Laubert, Josh Junior, Max Salmonen, Piotr Kula, Oskari Munhun, and Fabian Pick all over towards that right-hand side. But it certainly looks like the lead boat from that left-hand side. Certainly would have thought, looks like Giles Scott's had the gap closed on him a little bit. Tom Ramshaw looks like he's closed the gap on him. Well, for anyone just joining us, you can see with the strap line at the bottom who leads this second race. You might be scratching your head and wondering why only 2 races. Well, yesterday was a non-starter, unfortunately, due to the wind gods. So a fairly prominent venue, I think, to talk about gods, but in Greek mythology. But I'll leave that one again. But it's, again, with the wind, certainly didn't play ball for the racers. And unfortunately, after numerous APs and delays, APA over A was shown, and that brought us on to today. And this is the second race of the day. Very different conditions for them out on the water. Very challenging for the sailors as well. It's amazing when you start to just dive down into the tracker a little bit more and start to identify where similar sort of strategies are coming into play. But one that is clearly very, very different is the 2 Kiwi sailors out on towards the left side as we look at it, and Andy Maloney out on towards that right-hand side. Andy Maloney leading this race to start with. We'll try and get some live pictures shortly to reinforce what's going on with the tracker. May have heard I've highlighted a couple of times. There's obviously pretty tricky conditions, but we've also experienced some technical issues as well with that. But great to see this racing being covered live, and hopefully you're all over the world somewhere watching this. I'm sure your support for a group of sailors, whether it's the class, whether it's individuals the countries. It's all going to come down to these final places. Here we go. We see those lead boats still approaching from that left-hand side. Andy Maloney still clearly out in front. So again, the interesting one was Giles Scott getting out towards that left-hand side a little bit further out. And it looks like he's suffered a little bit for it. He was up into second. But looks like he might have been drawn back into the pack a little bit more by staying out towards that left-hand side. You can see using his experience, not letting anything get to him. Zsombor Berkez, the Hungarian there, centre of picture, Hungary number 40, in a good position as well. This is approaching the windward mark for the final time. Andy Maloney, Giles Scott, Tom Ramshaw, Alichan Kana, Facundo Olizar, Nicholas Heiner, Zsombor Berkez, Ed Wright, all names that you'll be familiar with, all closing in on this top spot. Let's hope that we've can pick up some live pictures at the top end of this race course. So here we are now. The pictures start to tell that story. Here we are. This is the boat. The eyes on Andy Maloney. He has been leading out in front. He has extended his lead on that first downwind leg, even with the pressures of an Olympic champion breathing down his neck. He still has that comfortable lead. That is the gap between him and the rest of the fleet. We're just unfortunately losing that picture a little bit there, which is as they close in now, we catch back up. There is the orange mark there at that top mark for the first time. Led from the start, continues to lead. That is Andy Maloney round that top mark for the final time. Now just this flat out, full powered, full energy work downwind, tacking in at this mark now. This will be either Giles Scott or Zsombor Berkez. So looking at that, Berkez, our champion, round in second. Then the Olympic champion, Giles Scott. So Berkez really saw him come through. A superb run through on that final upwind leg. Picked his lane nicely. Again, going round the top there. That looked... There's Tom Ramshaw. That so it looked like Henry Weatherall still holding in there. Anders Pedersen. Olizar now coming into this mark. Alichan Kena just squeezing in front of Josh Jr. And there is the first of the Croatians. That is Nenad Bugarin, who had a good race on that last one. Zorg Zarif coming in. There. Josip Ulrich coming round. Ed Wright, the European champion. A little bit further back, Caleb Payne. And now Loubert. First to the Dutch, Nicholas Heine. And there we see Irish Sailor. Just finally creasing round. Oisin McClellan. Again, really starting to shake up the race course here. One of a dominant Spanish group. That is Alejandro Muscat. Teammate Pablo. Now we start to see Oskari Munhion. Luke Payne round. Jake Lilly. Very, very tight as they all tried to creak round. Itakas, home favourite around. Not, that is Max Selmanen. That was the Swedish 33 going round. So what we're thinking as these boats are going round, they're tightly packed, but you saw that distance between where those lead three boats were. So Andy Maloney from New Zealand has led from start to finish and just extending that gap. Right behind him, though, the world champion, Somba Burquez, looking to close that gap. Then Olympic champion was on snapping distance there. And again, a nice little cluster of boats. Tom Renshaw, Anders Pedersen, Tando Olizar, Alichan Kena, Josh Jr. They were all racked up, waiting to go. You can see how physical this has been in these kind of conditions. They had a full range of conditions from the lighter airs in Palma that challenged all of them. But with that extra bit of breeze coming up now. So we see one of the Chinese team around. I think that was Luan Shen round. Look how many boats all still working back upwind as the lead boats are gone. They're nearly halfway down this first downwind leg, second downwind leg on the way down to their dog leg across to the finish. There is the Bermudan sailor, Rockall Evans, around. That's Kosovos around as well for Greek. And then with Dutch and French, Valerian Lebrun. Just trying to squeeze round. Just about doing it. Latsun from Russia. Squeezing in on that inside is Kokumai from Japan. Bit of a mistake there to travel against down sort of on that main sheet looping round. The Cypriot we haven't seen a huge amount of. Again, should be enjoying the lighter of the conditions, but isn't. That we got that little bit stronger breeze. The only Austrian, Moritz Spitzauer, trying to squeeze through now. A host of the Ukrainian sailors. So there are 6 Ukrainian sailors that have taken the trip to Greece here. Fellow Turkish sailor too, Alichan Kena, can Akdurak. James Dag from Hong Kong. Hopefully we'll be able to zoom forward and catch up with the lead boats that are closing down. Zomba is closing the gap on Maloney, but it is still the Kiwi man out in front. So this would be a superb race from Andy Maloney, who came in after a great regatta in Palma at the Princess Sophia Trophy. Kiwi sailors, so we see Josh Jr. there, NZL 24 just towards the right hand side, but it is NZL 61 at the top of the screen. That is Andy Maloney who leads here. The world champion nipping at his heels. Burkes applying the pressure all the way through. Giles Scott just on that left side of that little cluster, but again, very, very fast downwind. Puts a lot of energy and time into the boat downwind. He won the first race, and so any kind of result like this one will certainly put him in quite a commanding position. But again, so you can see from the graphic, they're going to round that gate mark. They'll take the port hand gate mark, use it as a turning mark before that dog leg across towards the finish. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up with the drone or have a look at some of those spectacular conditions that the sailors are working flat out downwind to gain. Anders Pedersen, after leading and getting that whistle in that first race where the breeze had dropped down and picked up that penalty, he is back up again in a solid position, up into about 4th, 5th place as well. Henry Weatherall as well, doing a superb job of keeping himself tucked in on this race. Fairly young gun to the class, talented sailor, but when you look at when he'll be looking around at some of the people around him, he'll be feeling very, very pleased with where he is if he can hold on. The coach to the British, Matt Howard, has done a phenomenal job with the British squad, and they have always been one of the teams to go out and beat, whether it was all the way through from Ainsley's eras through to Giles Scott, but the depth of the squad with Ed Wright, Ben Cornish, now with some of the younger guys coming up, Henry Weatherall. There's a lot of talent within that squad. No doubt has come from a driving force from Matt Howard as well. But you can see from the graphic there, we're going to try and pick up on the pictures there, but it is Andy Maloney who's going to be taking that bottom mark for the final time and doing the dog leg across towards the finish. And what a race this guy has had. Bronze medal in the World Championship, World Cup Series, final in Marseille last year. But it would mean a huge amount if he could claim first at the top spot. But secondly, if he's able to be in front of his fellow countryman Josh Jr. to really keep that selection process alive. The world champion, Zomba Burkes, is and these boats coming in. This looks like the battle between Olizar and Alichan Kana. Then Josh Jr. And just trying to, I believe that's Ogalin, the Croatian. Then Lobear all crossing the line. Heiner all tucked in. So very, very tight. Not the clear on that. Can see Jorg Zerif with his extra logos on the sail. Again, I believe that is fellow Croatian sailor. The first Croatian sailor that was across the line was Nidnad Bagarin, and then the Croatian just crossing the line then, Josip Olwich. So as the rest of the fleet cross the line and just try and close any gap down on those boats, making any gains they possibly can on those last bits of downwind legs. Really pushing the boats. Every single point's going to matter. If you've had any slight downfall in the racing, you've struggled with any bits that have not come together. See the Irishman, Austin McClellan. Alejandro Muscat through as well. And then a host boats from Jake Lilly all just crossing the line. Max Selman, and they're all fighting it out and battling it out in those spaces. So boats all just trying to separate out as they cross this finish line. Just trying to identify and get some updates from the water to whether there is an additional race. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and squeeze the third race. We did lose 2 yesterday, and so they'd certainly be looking to try and cement that in. But we'll be looking to try and get some information for you on that. So dramatic pictures as the camera looks across Athens, the iconic city. You know, this is none of it means more to all of the sailors than, of course, to the host of Greek sailors that are racing on home waters. And Ioannis Mitakis, of course, very, very special to him. Raced in Rio and would certainly be looking to qualify his country again and would like to represent them. And what a way to do that is if he can get the country qualified here in the special waters of Athens. So this championship is being hosted by the Hellenic Sailing Federation. It's all being based out of the Athens International Sailing Centre. So it's a relatively new centre and setup, but obviously stooped in history with what has gone down on the waters and raced before. Many classes returning back to Athens to race, and now with the Athens International Sailing Centre and the setup. And long may that continue. Again, for updates and further information, you can, of course, follow us through the social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook is the International Fin Class, Instagram Fin Class, Twitter Fin_class. So have a little look. We will be joining a third race. This will be the third and final race. They're not able to race any more than 3 races a day, but they are allowed to race that third race, certainly if they're a little nervous of the racing. And due to us losing 2 races yesterday. It's all playing a little bit of catch up. So as we pull together the overall results for that race, we will condense them down and I'll come back to you with those overall results. But it certainly was a great win for the Kiwiman, Andy Maloney. Start to finish, superb race. So what we'll look to do is have a little bit of a breather. Then we will be coming back for race number 3 of the European Championships.